everyone, this is Pam with Betty Jane's Quilting and Crafts, and I'd like to welcome you back today. I would like to talk today about some of the tools that I use in my business and in my quilting. I use these pretty much every day because pretty much every day I quilt. So these are things that I have used over and over again, and it's just what works for me. And I wanted to share a little bit of that with you. So before we get started, we're going to move the camera in so you can see a little bit better, a little bit closer view of the items. Okay? Okay, so one of the first items I'd like to share with you are my Fisker scissors. I do buy the ones with the titanium blades. They are spring-loaded, so it makes it a little bit easier. As we get older, we have arthritis and some other things that we battle with. So with the spring blade, it does make it a little bit easier to cut with. But I do always buy the titanium blades. I think they last longer and they stay sharp longer. So that is my first tool. My next one is another pair of scissors. These are from Handy Quilter. I bought them from the Handy Quilter site. These are batting scissors. So that's why the curved blade here. I only use them to cut batting, and because I do a lot of quilting and long arm work, these get used quite a bit. They're kind of a splurge. Not everybody has them, not everybody needs them, but for me, they have come in very handy and well worth the money that I spent on them. So another pair of scissors. My next ones are my Kais. You can see they're curved, so for my long arm, I can slide it underneath, clip my threads, also on my sewing machine. I also have it on one of these cute little retractable gadgets. Mine actually came from Handy Quilter, but my husband has one also. He has just the retractable, it's a little black disc on the top that he bought, I think at Walmart or somewhere like that, that hooks onto his shirt. So I usually have this hooked to my shirt all day long. And I think it comes in very handy. While I'm long arm quilting, I can pull it out, snip my threads, and take care of it right then and there. So another pair of scissors. My next item is my Martelli rotary cutter. That's my little chihuahua making noise. I think she thinks the Amazon order is here. So sorry about that, everyone. But this is my rotary cutter. They are right and left-handed. I am right-handed. So you hold on to it. It's got a little finger rest right at the top. And it also has the guard on the bottom for safety purposes. But this I use a lot. I think it's priceless. Again, I buy the titanium blades for it because they last much longer for me. They stay sharper, and I get a lot of use out of the titanium blades. So I do splurge a little bit on those and always replace them with the titanium blades. So, okay, my next item right here, seam ripper. I don't know anyone that sews that doesn't have a seam ripper. I actually own probably 4 or 5 different ones. I have them planted all over the house because sometimes I'll sit in my lazy boy at night watching TV and rip out some seams and that kind of thing. I'm not sure who makes this. I know I did buy it at Joann's, but it stays very sharp, and that's why I've liked this one the best. It has this little rubber tip to it. This is supposed to help you use it on the fabric to get the little strings of thread out. I really don't use that part of it very often, but I do use the seam ripper quite a bit. This is my next item. Again, bought it at Joann's. And it has a little tip to it. I also have the purple thing that I use quite a bit. Also, it's still packed away in a box somewhere that I haven't found. So hopefully I find it soon. But this just helps me poke out, when I turn corners inside out, it helps me get those sharp and crisp on the corners. I use it for a lot of different things. I also use it when I make my fabric coil baskets that I'll be doing a video on later. It's just an extra thing to help you if you can't fit your fingers in underneath the sewing machine, or you just need a longer reach. So that's what I use that for. Okay, next, this is one of my favorite markers. Let me turn it around here. On this side, it has the disappearing ink. This is the side that I use most often. It's a purple color, and you mark your fabric, and it goes away just being out in the air. So if you mark your fabric and then go have lunch and come back, it's probably not going to be there anymore. The other side is a water soluble, the Mark Be Gone. And again, like I said, I don't use that very often. I like the disappearing much better, but I have had uses for the Mark Be Gone. So it's nice that you have both of them in the same pen. It makes it a little bit easier. My next thing is glue. I tend to use a lot of glue. This is Eileen's. It's the Fast Grab Tacky Glue. They have a regular tacky glue also. I prefer this just because it does grab fast, just like it says. So I'm not having to hold on to it or pin it or clip it down. It usually dries fast enough that I can just hold on to it for a few minutes. I bought this at Hobby Lobby. Price tag there. I think I paid $2.99 for it. Joann's also has it. Michael's, I believe, has it. So a lot of just the regular craft stores end up carrying this because it's used for not just fabric, but for a lot of other things. It is a permanent glue, so that's why I end up using this. My other glue I use is Roxy's Glue and Baste It. This has a very thin tip on the top. So when you apply your glue, it's very precise. So that is a big plus. But this is just a basting glue. So this is not permanent, but it will hold stuff in place for you until you get a chance to sew it down or tack it down, whatever you're going to end up doing. But it does work very well. So I believe I mail ordered this when I bought it. I don't know if they have it at Joann's and those places. I've always just done it through mail order. So, thread. Of course, this is very important in any sewing project. I always use Gutermann, I guess is how you pronounce it. I use the all cotton thread. I do the big spools because I go through so much of it. I have the smaller spools also for more color coordinating. But these, I always get the white, the black, navy, and gray. I use gray a lot. It's a very neutral color. And so I go through a lot of gray also. But I always have stock on hand of this because if I'm going to Joann's and they have a coupon or buy one, get one free, I will stock up on my thread because I do go through so much thread. So 100% cotton, Gutermann thread is my favorite. This is a tape measure. And you're probably thinking, well, everyone's got a tape measure, which is true. The reason I like this one is it goes to 120 inches. And this is really convenient in quilting because a lot of what we measure is quite large. And if you have a shorter tape measure, you have to, measure so far, mark it, measure again. So I like the 120 because I can make my husband hold it at one end and go down to the other end and measure it just once. So it makes things go much quicker. So next is rulers. This is my favorite. Let me move this over here. It's the Easy Rule 2. Every time I go to a show or something to that effect, they always have the biggest, greatest rulers out. And my husband always tells me, you know what, go ahead, get it, see if it's something that works for you. And I have always ended up going back to this ruler. I belong to a quilt guild, and we've had a lot of discussions over rulers and what everybody likes and why they like them. I like this one because the numbers are nice and big, even though I do have my glasses on most of the time when I'm sewing. But the numbers are nice and big. The half quarter marks are large. So it's very easy to see. It does do the whole 24 inches, and it's 6.5 across here. So that pretty much are the right dimensions for most of the things that I do. A lot of ladies like more. They like the little squares, the omni grids, that kind of thing, where there's a lot more markings on the ruler. For me, simple is better. I like just the basic ruler with the markings that I need. And I do have other rulers that I have put away. If I do need something, I can go get one of those. But pretty much day to day, this is the one that I like. This is the one that I use, and it makes it very convenient for me. So my next item is my pin cushion, and it's got this little basket on the bottom. You can see my pins are all messy here. I did not make this. I bought it from a friend who was at a craft show, doing a craft show, and she made these. And I think it's very important to support other small businesses, since I'm a small business owner. And so I bought it from her instead of making one myself, and to show my support. So I keep this right next to my sewing machine. All my pins go in here, and then as I clip my threads, they can all go in the little basket right here. So I use this again every day right next to my sewing machine. So now irons. I actually have 2 irons. Let me get them over here for you. This is my first one. This is my Panasonic. And it is cordless. Oh, no, you can't see that. It's cordless, so you can take it off. It rests back into the cradle. The cradle's plugged in. It's a steam iron, so I can do my settings. And it does have automatic turn off, which is very important for me. And so I use this. I keep it right next to my sewing machine. And I use this a lot on my long arm. So what I do with my long arm is a lot of times I'll have a border or some other part of the quilt that is wavy. The fabric's wavy, which means it's stretched either while it's been on the long arm, or when somebody made it, they just didn't measure their borders correctly, so I get a little bit of waviness in there. And what I do is I take my spray starch, spray it across the quilt, and then I'm able to just bring my iron like this over to the long arm and iron it while it's on the machine. This has come in very handy for me. I've used it numerous times. That's why I like the cordless. And like I said, it's great right next to my sewing machine. And I use it to do my seams and set my seams and do all that kind of stuff. So this has come in very handy. Again, something that I saw and my husband said, go ahead, buy it. So he does that a lot and I love him for it. So one of my favorite tools. Okay, my next iron is my Oslo. It's the Smart Iron, the iTouch. It's one of the irons that when you touch it, it drops down. When you leave go, it lifts up. It has steam settings. I've had this for years now, and I absolutely love it. This is the one that actually stays on my ironing board. And I use it for the binding and for the larger items on my ironing board. If I'm ironing a quilt or large pieces of fabric, my binding, borders, that type of thing. So I keep this on my sewing machine, and I like it. Also has the automatic shut off because, again, I'm very bad about remembering. So anything that I try to buy, I try to get the automatic shut off on it. So again, two great irons, great things to have. Along with that goes my Best and Press starch. When I was talking about using my Panasonic on the long arm, this is what I spray the quilt with first. I spray those wavy areas with the starch, and then I come back and use the Panasonic iron to kind of set that starch in. I buy the Best and Press. I like the smells, the different fragrances. It's like perfume to me in a sewing world. So I know a lot of people make their own, and that's great. I guess I'm the lazy one, so I just go buy the Best and Press. And again, I like the fragrance in it. So I like, while I'm quilting and using it, that I have a nice smell. So one of the last things to go with the sewing machines is my ironing mat. It's the wool ironing mat. Again, I have a space set up right next to my sewing machine that I have this mat. Another item that I really wanted, and my husband said, go ahead and buy it. I bet you guys all want him right now, right? He's mine. You can't have him. But this has been a game changer for me. So it makes your seams much more crisp. It holds the heat while you're ironing much better. And so I keep it right next to my sewing machine along with my Panasonic iron, and have it all set up and ready to go. And my last item. This is my magnetic pin holder. This is from Harbor Freight. It was my husband's. I went out into his garage and stole it from him. So nobody tell him that I took it. It just came from Harbor Freight. It's mainly used for screws and nails and stuff, I believe. But I use it for pins, and it's nice. You can just throw your pins in there. They don't come out. I have dropped these numerous times being a klutz, and pretty much all the pins stay in there. So thank goodness, especially in my sewing areas, I'm usually in socks or slippers, so you don't want to be stepping on pins that you've dropped. So this pretty much keeps them in there, and is not very costly, coming from Harbor Freight. And go check out your husband's garage. Maybe he's got one out there. You just kind of steal his too. So I think that's all the tools for now. Okay, everyone. Well, thank you for spending your time with me. I know time is precious, so I appreciate you spending some with me. Please subscribe to my channel. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video. If I messed up, go ahead, give me a thumbs down. I'd also like to hear all of your comments or suggestions. It really helps me learn too, and gives me topics to cover in the future. So happy quilting, everyone. Go out and make something beautiful today.